Klim Kaivalya Kaivalya Klim Kaivalya
Namaste. Welcome to Kaivalya Yoga Gurukulam. For this class in Kaivalya Marga, we shall continue learning about the Agni element in our body, mind and spirit, and how this cosmic element of Agni Tattva helps us in connecting to the universal consciousness. As always, we shall begin the satsang with 3 Oms. With reverential salutations to this divine temple, Tiruvannamalai, in South India, with which we began this series of the Agni element. We shall begin this class and continue our learning of this beautiful and powerful element. These 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and space, is what this creation is all about. If you break it all down in whatever form, in the form of thoughts, in the form of material objects, in the form of subtleness, if you will, all of these finally come down to these 5 elements. And these 5 elements go back to the gunas, and the gunas go back to the ahankara tattva. As long as the I exists, these exist. The moment I ceases, then all of these ceases, right? We get a glimpse of that in our deep sleep. There is no I, none of these elements exist in the consciousness. And the search now in our sadhana, in this Kaivalya Marga, in this path of yoga, and all of that we do, is how do I have the cake and eat it too? In other words, in sleep, the I doesn't exist and none of these elements exist, but then the experience is kind of a shunyam. Shunyam means a zero experience, if you will. How do I transcend that and then get to a place where I experience the I, which is above these 5 elements? What is the nature of that I? What kind of I is that? It goes into the Mahat Tattva, but we will learn that. I mean, the idea is it's not so clear in a textbook fashion. When I say we learn that, we learn the understanding of these elements and how see all of these elements are manifestations of the I, and therefore through each of these elements, through practices, we begin to connect back to the source from which it all came from. Let us begin with that understanding, becomes more clear. In today's class, I'm going to keep it very focused on 3 kriyas that we will do. Before that, I know I just want to mention about the mantra classes that we did in the last 2 classes. They were wonderful classes. I felt very inspired to share them. I have got a lot of feedback from many of you who have watched this. You want audio recordings and so on. So we are working on it. It's very much in our to-do list. And we will do that for sure and share it so you can put them on loops and listen to them regularly. For those of you who are willing to listen to those mantras to ignite the Agni. Tonight we are going to go into the kriyas, the yogic kriyas. They are more physical in nature, more doable, more practical. Before I go into that, we're going to discuss just 3 kriyas tonight. Maya and I recorded quite a few, but then we had some technical issues and it didn't turn out well. But whatever I could salvage from what we recorded, I'm going to share with you today. So pardon me for some, if the audio is not very clear, we did some outdoor recording on Sunday. So anyway, let's see how that goes. But before I go there and just share these kriyas and say these are the techniques and this is how you should do, please understand one thing, and perhaps I'm repeating myself here again, and I think it's worth repeating. None of these, whether it is kriyas or mantras or food that we discussed, we spent a number of classes just on that. For the Agni element, and thus for all the elements, none of them can be practiced only in isolation, and you can't expect the complete benefit. It is a combination of all these factors. You can't say, all right, I'm not into yoga, I can't do this, I'm just going to do only the mantra chanting. I'm not interested in food and all that, I know the mantra will take care of me. For that to happen, for the mantra shakti to become so powerful, in other words, to attain siddhi in the mantra, the lifestyle is a very disciplined lifestyle. It involves food, it involves kriyas, it involves meditation and prayer. The whole holistic thing is what brings siddhi in the mantra. And when the mantra attains siddhi, the deity in that mantra is awakened, the energy begins to get released into your body and the benefit is achieved. Right? It's never done mechanically. None of these are done mechanically. None of these are quick fixes. It comes with intense sadhana. Sadhana, and that is why I take effort to explain each of these classes in detail. These are for people who are, and all of you I know are interested because that's how you are here. For those of you who are taking this up very seriously, and this is my path, my life has to mean something, right? And we use these as means for self-realization, God realization, getting closer to our divine nature. That is the purpose. So don't look at these techniques in isolation. Because then what happens, you'll say, I did Tadasana Kriya for so many months, nothing is happening, I'm still having digestive problems, I'm still having health problems, this Agni element is not working for me. But are you combining along with this, are you also combining and making sure you're making big changes in your food and diet? Right? All that we talked about, raw foods and everything. Are you making that as well? In addition to these two, are you also bringing mantra as well? And we will have more. We'll talk about a little bit of dhyana and meditation and methods there, and if not in this class, in the next class. So what happens is for each of these tattvas, there is a holistic. Why holistic? Why do we need to approach it physically, mentally, spiritually, and all of that? Why? Because these elements exist in all our dimensions. They exist in our physical body, yes, digestive fire. They exist in our thoughts, fiery thoughts, impulsive thoughts, angry thoughts, all these are fire element. So they exist in the thoughts. They exist in feelings. They exist in the spiritual energy, the awakening of consciousness, the brilliance that you experience. All of that is the Agni Tattva, right? So at each and every level of our spiritual progress and expansion of consciousness, these elements help us. They are part of our lives. That is what the whole Maya of Shakti is. This energy of Devi is in all these elements. That's what we are learning, right? As part of the Devi Khadgamala Stotra. If some of you are not into those satsangs, please do attend them because they're all interlinked. All of these are interlinked. It is the same Shakti, but this Shakti principle, the Agni principle, is there in all layers. And therefore, how do I just say I'm doing asanas and it's going to fix my digestion? If it's going to, it might help you to a certain extent with your digestion of food and a little bit of health. But for that health to become holistic, you have to approach the health problem from the spirit and the mind as well, right? So it is a completely holistic approach. So please understand these from that point of view and set out a big plan, if you will. Your sadhana is, that's why sadhana becomes very interesting. It's not never boring because you always are working on some aspect of your life. If it's food, if you got food under control to some extent, slowly, playfully, right? You're working on food, you're working on the mantras, you're working on this, and you're completely engaged. There's so much to do that you'll never get up and say, okay, I've done all this, what next? There is so much to learn, so much to do, and that keeps you humble, and that journey, being in that journey, draws divine grace. That is that explicable part of this whole sadhana. There is an element of grace that we are entitled to. I believe that. It's been my experience. I can never claim credit to have done a sadhana successfully and therefore I got this and got that. It is an element of grace. When that will happen, how that will happen, I have no idea, honestly. But I do believe that as long as we continue this holistic approach of practicing, using the body, using a lifestyle, using the mind, and garnering all the resources that is given to us towards this path of self-realization. It doesn't mean you cannot have what we call quote-unquote fun, whatever fun means to you. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you become very mindful. Be mindful in your conversation. Be mindful of what you watch. Be mindful of what you listen. So then you begin to enjoy a different level. You create a different level of reality. And then all these tattvas begin to manifest their innermost energies, divine energies. Why am I saying that? Because I think I need to keep dropping such disclaimers every now and then. It's important for all of us to understand, wait a minute, I need to understand this in a bigger perspective, not just one particular technique you do and suddenly everything else is going to be taken care of. I wish it was that simple, but I don't think I should be leading you on that path of what I would not believe is a very honest path, because I don't want to promise things to you. The way I experienced it, the way Baba taught me was work hard, earn God's grace, and grace will come. Grace will come. There is no doubt about it. Grace comes. All right. So, having said that, let us now focus on the Kriyas. So, this is nourishing the Agni Tattva through yogic Kriyas. When we talk of yogic Kriyas, there are yogic poses, right? Yogic asanas, Yogasanas as we know it. Yogasanas are fundamentally of 4 types. Fundamentally. What is that? You are bending forwards, forward bend, asanas. Then there are back bends, right? You're bending backwards, back bend asanas. Then there are spinal twists. Fundamentally, these are the movements, right? You either bend forward, you bend back, or you twist to either side. Then comes this, what is called the balancing. You balance on your hand, you balance on your feet, you balance on your head, you balance on your fingers, and balancing goes on. So balancing yoga poses become is a cornerstone practice in yoga. It's a fundamental practice. You can begin this practice with children. The 3 kriyas I'm going to teach you, engage your children, ask them to watch it and ask them to learn it, because when you practice this, number one, the Agni is ignited in the body and increases the metabolic rate, keeps you biologically much, much younger than others or your age, other than the chronology. You have a chronological age and a biological age. So the biological age begins to slow down. You slow down, your aging begins to slow down. Chronologically, of course, years just go by and you might add age. But the other aging begins to slow down. That is achieved because of Agni predominantly, and of course all the other elements as well, but Agni predominantly. So when you engage this, that is one side of the picture. The other side, especially for children, is balancing poses begins to get focus in the mind. Focus is Agni element because there is heat in focus. There is sharpness in focus. There is life in focus. You can't just close your eyes and say, I'm just going to focus. No, you're relaxing. That is a different thing. Contemplating is different. You're just getting into a dreamy world. The alpha waves kick in, delta waves kick in the brain. And all those are not the Agni element. That is Vayu, space, and all of that takes you in a very different plane. Agni element is focus. Focus is gamma rays, where the brain shifts into a very different gear, high intense gear. And that is very important for meditation, believe it or not. So that is again connected to the Agni element. So if we can teach these through asanas to our children and make it fun for them at a very young age, they begin to develop and give a boost to that Agni in their bodies. If there is any slackness in the brain, then it really helps. If there is mild autism, it does help because the children learn to focus rather than the inability to focus. And when there is Agni, automatically self-confidence comes, a sense of determination comes, all of that comes. These are all very, very subtle changes. It comes over a period of time. So the asanas, the kriyas that I'm going to show you, 2 out of the 3 kriyas are very simple ones. There are more, and hopefully I'll get time in the next few days to shoot that so we are ready for the next class. Much more better than what we did. So let us start with the first asana. And that asana is called Tadasana. Tadasana. Tada means mountain. Asana means pose. Kriya, the word Kriya is when you take in the pose, you begin to move either from one pose to another, one variation of the pose to another variation of the pose, and you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like creating heat, right? You rub stones back and forth, you get spark. So when you do Kriyas, it sparks the Agni element. There are certain Kriyas which begins to channelize the water element and draw the electricity from the water and create it into Agni. Like Surya Namaskar is predominantly a water element Kriya. But then that Kriya, when you go on doing, the Agni begins to rise from that. So they are not watertight compartments, okay? But Kriyas in general bring in heat into the body, bring in an element of Agni. It lights up the Agni. Now, among the balancing poses, anything that you do with your feet, balancing with your feet, among the balancing poses, balancing with your feet directly approaches the Agni element, is directly connected with the Agni element in your navel. Why is that? Because what are the 2 organs that we learned in the earlier class connected to Agni? One is feet. The organ of action connected to Agni is feet. Your feet produce heat that is going into the body. We've discussed this in the earlier class. Like I said, you could wear the most expensive winter coat on a snowy wintry night, if you will, cap, gloves, earmuffs, and all of that. And if you walk out into the snow without shoes, none of that is going to protect you. Why? Because you lose heat in the body through the feet. If you notice, grandmothers and mothers, even to this day in many cultures, when you fall sick, they rub the feet because it produces heat in the body and you don't feel chills. Feet generates lot of heat. Agni lies below the feet. But wait a minute, you would say, right? Earth is the one that's the base. Now, where does Agni come under the earth? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, right? If you go into the core of the earth as we know it, start digging deep inside, what do you find? Volcano, lava, heat, fire, right? That's exactly how our body is also created. You and I are not different from the universe that we see around us. We are products of this. So how beautifully the yogis understood this and said, below your feet lies fire. Ignite that fire, and that fire will help you move your consciousness upwards. Because fire only goes upwards. Water and earth goes downwards. So now we have come to the element that begins to churn consciousness and move it upwards. So when you practice with your feet, it begins to move the earth element and begins to push the earth element upwards. Okay? Alright, first let us see how Tadasana is done. It's simply standing on your 2 feet and hands by the side. Let us take a listen to this video, and then we will compare some notes. Hopefully the audio, we took it in the park outside, and you may have to focus, strain a little bit to listen, because afterwards we noticed that I should have probably had a closer mic. But nevertheless, we did this, so I want to share it. I don't want to delay a whole class just because of some technicalities. If it's very, very bad, then we'll perhaps redo this. But for now, please bear with the lack of perfection there, if you will. But nevertheless, I hope it will be clear enough for you to learn what this Tadasana is all about. And I'm presented Tadasana as an asana and Kriya, so it's about 6 or 7 minute video. Please take a listen. Namaste. This is a short video on the Tadasana Kriya. Tadasana is mountain pose. Tadasana is simply standing on your 2 feet. For this Kriya, for this asana, you want to choose and be on the bare ground, directly in contact with Mother Earth. Okay? And try to do this on your bare feet. So stand on a grassy patch or on a rock, anything that connects you to the earth. Feet hip width apart, hands on either side of your body. Now your back should be straight, so your hip is slightly kind of thrust forward like so. So you're not sticking your butt out like this. So once you stand in this pose, shoulders relaxed, hands by the side. All you have to do is close your eyes and take your awareness to the bottom of your feet. The bottom of your feet. Feel the connection to the earth. First, let me show you the Tadasana. Tadasana is where you become still like a mountain. Feel the connection from between the bottom of your feet and the earth. All your focus goes down to the feet. Stand, breathe in and out. Eyes closed, your focus shifted all the way down, and you're simply standing. This is the Tadasana. Now how do you do the Tadasana Kriya? There are 2 methods to it. One is a very simple method to learn, and that is where the breathing, you focus on the movement of the breath. And because your mind is focused on the movement, it becomes a Kriya. Kriya means that which is engaged in action. So in this, what do? I stand in Tadasana. As I inhale, I'm going to draw the energy from the earth through the center of my feet. From here, through the center of my feet. So I stand in such a way that this section of my feet touches the ground fully, right? That's why I like grass, because it fills my feet underneath. Now as I inhale, I draw the energy from the earth into the feet. One inhalation, I bring the energy to the navel. And then the exhalation is like from here, there is a mild explosion, if you will. The energy explodes and sends out to all parts of the body. Okay, explosion is too violent a word, but then it's something like it bursts forth and spreads out the energy throughout the body. So inhalation till here, And then exhalation, you exhale feeling that prana that you drew from the earth. Earth holds a lot of prana, and the fire element, you connect to the fire element through the feet. So the fire enters through the earth, the prana, life force, in this case in the form of fire, heat, enters here and then dissipates to all the part of the body. So the Kriya is done like this. You stand in Tadasana, inhale. I'm going to show you a bit action so that you understand what's going on. But when you practice it, you don't have to do any action. All you have to do is to keep your eyes closed and engage in this Kriya practice. So what is happening here? As I inhale, I bring it here, and I exhale, I distribute the prana throughout the body. My stomach is pulled in. There is a mild Udhianabanda in place. Without the Udhianabanda, the Agni is not activated. So the Agni begins to pull the earth element into it and begins to move the consciousness upward and spreads the energy throughout. It's a very powerful Kriya, very simple to learn. You could practice this for 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time. Simply inhale, form a suction like a vacuum. Think you're pulling the energy through the feet, through the legs, into the navel. And as you exhale, feel that energy being distributed throughout the body, all the way to the top of the head, into the palms, and so on. Now, you could use the Ujjayi breath, so you're sucking the breath, and I hope I'm clear because I know I'm outside and we weren't really prepared to have other microphones and things like that. But anyway, Ujjayi breath. So you suck through the throat, right? Use the Ujjayi breath. You can even do the Khechari mudra in this practice. Tongue rolled back, like so. Mouth closed. So Khechari mudra and Tadasana Kriya makes it a very powerful Kriya. Stomach pulled in, breathing in and out through the chest, shoulders relaxed. Okay, this is Kriya 1. Now, Kriya 2 is Uttita Tadasana. How is that done? As I inhale, I'm going to come up on my toes. As I exhale, I come down. I inhale. You don't even have to raise your hands up if that is too difficult for you. You can stand in Tadasana. Simply inhale. Come up on your toes. Exhale. Come down. So can you focus here? So what I'm doing here, I'm inhaling. As I inhale, I come up. As I exhale, I go down. I inhale, I come up. Exhale, I go down. All the time my stomach is pulled in, my hands are by the side. A very simple variation. Kriya 2 in Tadasana is inhale and exhale. In this case, you want to keep your eyes focused on a spot a few feet ahead of you, maybe 3 or 4 feet ahead. Keep your eyes open, keep it fixed at a spot. Don't look around here and there. Don't close your eyes fully because you will not be able to maintain balance. Look at a spot 3 or 4 feet ahead of you. Stand in Tadasana. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So what happens here is I come up and I'm still inhaling, and so stay up till you finish your inhalation. So it goes like this. I inhale, now I exhale, inhale, and exhale. This is Tadasana Kriya 2. The third variation of Tadasana is inhale, Watch my palms. Exhale, palms turn down. Inhale, palms turn up. Exhale. All the time stomach is pulled in. Inhale. Exhale. Eyes focused on a spot on the ground. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. You can inhale, fully inhale. Exhale. You can do this 12 times, 18 times, 24 times, 48 times. Very powerful exercise. It begins to exercise your feet. Your feet will feel like it's on fire after a while. And that's the whole idea, fire, right? So that warmth, that prana, it is drawing from the earth, enters into the body, brings warmth, vitality, vigor, improves digestion. The benefits are amazing. See how simple this exercise is. Inhale. Exhale. Or inhale. Exhale. Inhale. That's all you're doing and nothing else. So this is the Tadasana Kriya. Thank you for watching. All right. I hope you found that the audio part of it clear. We could have done it indoors, but I just thought the day was wonderful and we want to try do some of these videos outside, short ones, just to give a little bit of change. It's wonderful to connect back with nature, especially after a long winter. So what did we learn in Tadasana? We learned to appreciate a connection with Mother Earth. So these exercises help you to connect with Mother Earth. We are in a culture now where we wear slippers, we wear shoes, we barely go barefoot. We rarely go barefoot, right? It's very rare. Many of us, even in our home, wear slippers and shoes. It's not about being good or bad, it's just what it is now, right? And so normally when you step out, it's good to wear footwear because you're protecting your feet. But there are certain occasions like these, you have to mindfully say, you know what, I want to get back to my connection with Mother Earth. We have come a long way from being a part of nature. Our lifestyles now are only separating us from nature, not bringing us back home. And so see if you can take at least one day a week, if not every morning. If every morning you can do it, there's nothing like it. Or every evening, whenever you get a chance. If you have access to a small yard, small garden, a little park. This was taken in a park, which is about 2 miles from my home. The river that flows in our backyard goes into, and there's a park nearby. So we went to the park and took this. So if you find a spot in the park, just stand, remove your shoes, put it aside, or chappals, whatever it is, and feel that connection. If you are by the seashore, nothing like it. Practicing these kriyas on the sand is again a very beautiful practice. When I stepped out of Puttaparthi, my 3 or 4 years, Maya and I, we spent in Chennai, and we stayed in Besant Nagar, which is on the beach. And so morning practices would be on the beach, and that was again a very beautiful experience. So if you are by the beach, then go to the sand, because the sand also fills the curvature of the feet. You want to feel your entire foot, the base of your foot in connection. In Tadasana, when you stand, you want to feel the base of your foot. What is the skin under your feet telling you? Not just feet. Then you're thinking of ankles and all that. But under your feet. How? Just like your palms, if you touch something, immediately you will know. We have trained it to send so much intricate messages. We haven't trained our feet to do that. So when you place your feet on the ground, what is the big toe telling you? What is the pressure on the big toe? What is the pressure on the little toe? What is the pressure in the middle of the feet, on the back of the heels, in the front of the heels? So observe that. That's what it is. That's what Tadasana is. Simply observe, tune in. So what happens is, why do I say it helps autistic children, or why do I say it helps and focus? Because the brain is connected from here. It is connecting, sending messages, exchanging messages to the extreme, the other extreme in the body, base of your feet. If that is established, a great deal of intelligence is established, a great deal of focus is established. Now, if you notice, in Tadasana, you close your eyes. In Tadasana Kriyas or Tadasana Kriyas, you open your eyes. Kriyas, when you move up and down, you don't. The only time in Tadasana Kriya is only when you're using the breath. The Tadasana Kriya 1, you close your eyes. You focus on the breath that comes in and goes out. So when you breathe and draw the energy, it's more of a visualization initially, then your whole body becomes warm, then you'll know that the process is working. It comes with practice. So that Kriya, you close your eyes. The Kriya 2 and 3 that I discussed, where you go up on your heels and come down, okay, assuming this is my feet. So when I go up on my heels and come down, I need to balance. So my eyes now will be focused at a spot. Again, not look here and there. You have to train to focus your eyes to a particular spot. We will talk about it when we discuss the Trataka Kriya, which is another very important Kriya mentioned in the yogic scriptures. So in Tadasana Kriya 2 and the Kriya 3, where you raise your hands up and you bring it down with every inhalations and exhalations, those are with eyes open. Tadasana is a very powerful practice, my dear sisters and brothers. You don't have to be experts in yoga and learn to do all that pretzel poses to feel that you're advancing in yoga. This asana and this kriya alone takes you a long way in helping you improve the quality of your meditation. It's amazing how that happens. So just try it. There is no other way but to try it, and then you'll have first-hand experience. Okay, so that was a Tadasana Kriya. The second one, the Kriya that I want to talk to you, is a little complicated than the Tadasana. We're going to stand on one leg instead of two. And that is known as it's part of the balancing poses, and that is known as the Vrikshasana and the Vrikshasana Kriya. Vriksha Kriya, Vrikshasana Kriya. It doesn't matter how you call it. Vrikshasana and Vrikshasana Kriya. Vriksha, what does Vriksha mean? Vriksha means tree. So you're going to become the tree. We do this in the beginners yoga classes. For those of you, if you're interested, you please consider attending those classes. I already have 48 to 50 classes. We do it with the help of a chair. We learn Tadasana and Vrikshasana and practice it every day. I still practice it on my other days when we don't have online classes and yoga classes in the morning. Tadasana and Vrikshasana are very powerful means to practice. Because I don't get to talk, I'm not in front of the camera, I can take my own time and delve into these asanas deeply. So I enjoy my own practice, but I never underestimate the energy and the power of Tadasana and Vrikshasana. Vrikshasana is standing on one leg. I was in a park, so I didn't have access to a stool or a chair, but you need to have some support nearby to learn that. So let us see how that is done and what are the kriyas that you can practice as part of Vrikshasana. Again, these are things you can do with your children at home, right? It's a very nice practice. Okay, so let's go there. Namaste. This is the Vrikshasana. Vrikshasana, Vriksha means tree. So you're going to lean on one leg, your left foot to begin with. Raise your right leg up. Take it as high as you can on the upper thigh. Drive the heel into the thigh like so. Drive it sideways. Open up the hip. Again, your foot is in complete connection with the earth. You ideally do this barefoot. Okay? And you stand here, open, join your palms together. Stomach is pulled in Udhianabanda. Vrikshasana. Again, keep your eyes focused at a spot on the ground a few feet ahead. You can stand like this, you can stand like this for balance. You can stand like this, or you could do this. All of these is up to you, but I prefer this. This is simple, keeps the mind engaged. Tadasana. In the Kriya, The same exercise that we did in Tadasana. You draw the energy from the earth with the inhalation through the feet, through this foot on the ground. Inhale to the navel and exhale into the branches of the tree. So again, feel the energy exploding into different parts of the body. Inhale and exhale. Vrikshasana Kriya 2. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Stomach is pulled in all the time. Inhale. Exhale. Come back to Tadasana. So this inhalation, exhalation, again, you can do it for 30 seconds, 1 minute. At the end of a minute or so, this foot, it'll feel like this foot is on fire, right? That's the whole idea. When you create heat in your foot, that heat travels all the way up. It travels all the way up into the body. Okay. The same thing you repeat on the other leg as well. So you balance, drive the heat, get in. So I'm going to straight away show you the second Kriya. Inhale. Extend the spine. Exhale. So you lose your balance. What happens? Adjust. Because right now I'm not found that right spot, sweet spot. Okay, I got it. Drive your heel. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. I keep my eyes focused, my stomach pulled in, Udhianabanda is in place. Exhale. I'm using my chest to breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Don't go for the number of times, then you'll increase the speed. Inhale gently. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And so on. And then come back to Tadasana and then be in the asana. Feel the connection with the earth. Do a few more rounds of the Tadasana Kriya. Stomach pulled in. With the Tadasana and Vrikshasana Kriya, you can ignite the Agni. Let me take you to a bench close by and we'll do a couple of other Kriyas as well. So that was the Vrikshasana Kriya. In both Tadasana and Vrikshasana, I keep saying pull the stomach in. In the yoga classes, I teach these, and for those of you who attend the beginners yoga classes as well as the intermediate, you would have noticed by now that Yogasana is traditionally always done with bandhas and kriyas, combining them. That's what makes it yoga practice. Otherwise, it will simply be a flexibility practice. It might give you flexibility and nothing more than that. But when you start doing bandhas and you begin to apply your mind fully to it, it becomes a yoga practice. Now, by pulling the stomach in, what you're doing is a mild, what we call Udhianabanda. Udhyana is that which rises up. So when you do the Udhianabanda, the flame in the stomach, in the navel region, the Chinese call it the power of Qi. Tai Chi, for example, is a great practice in taking the same energy and passing it to different parts of the body and so on. But I'm not a Tai Chi expert, so the less I speak of it, the better. But I have great respect for that practice, that science. So when you do Udhianabanda, what happens is it pulls the Agni, and Agni begins to pull the water and the earth element. In other words, our consciousness that is trapped in the parts of our consciousness that otherwise gets trapped in the earth element, where there is security, survival, and all of that. Predominantly, the consciousness gets engaged in that, or in senses, as in the water element. It begins to draw that energy upwards to more creative pursuits. Okay, And that is a very self-empowering, one of the greatest empowerment. So that is why I say teach children, because they don't have to know all this at all. Automatically, these are practices are not based on any of these faiths and belief. When you just practice, these things begin to manifest. Of course, you see, in those days, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, this lifestyle that we talk of, what to eat and all of that, was never a question, was never a problem, I think. Right? I don't know for sure, but I don't think it was ever a problem. The warriors knew what they have to do, and they ate. There was no combination. There was no confusion. The warriors were trained for certain things. They ate a certain way. For them, meat was allowed, and so on and so forth. They trained their bodies in a certain way. Their whole lifestyle was trained for what they wanted to do. The teachers, the priests and the teachers were trained in a certain way. They knew what to do, and their lifestyle was very different because they were teaching the highest wisdom. They practiced a different kind of lifestyle. And so on. It was very clear. But now what has happened is we have mixed, kind of a mixed bunch, if you will. So we need to become more mindful of how our lifestyle should be, what kind of food we eat, what kind of televisions we watch, and what kind of programs we do, because all of that begins to help us in these balancing poses. You will notice, if you practice this every day, that if your sleep is not good, you won't be able to balance well the next morning. If you are upset mentally, you won't be able to balance the next morning. If your mind is very disturbed and angry, you won't be able to balance in these poses. So the poses begin to give you a good biofeedback as to, wait a minute, something is wrong. I need to get back to my balance. Why am I not able to balance? And so start back with, take support always. For those of you who are older and who are just engaging, don't fall, don't try what I did in the park without any support. That's why I say join my classes, because I teach them very systematically. So take support, learn to stand, slowly allow the leg muscles to come, and then you will learn to keep your stomach pulled in and begin to practice the kriyas along with these asanas. They become very powerful practice. Just Tadasana and Vrikshasana alone, these two alone, you could practice for 20 minutes, 25 minutes every day. Or I just coolly say every day. We don't have 20-25 minutes for Tadasana and Vrikshasana every day, but you could do that twice a week, even once a week. Take time to just do Tadasana and Vrikshasana and a couple of other kriyas as you learn. So I say this is my time for just kriyas. I'm not going to overwork my body, but at the same time, I'm going to create intensity in my practice. Okay? It becomes a very powerful way to train your brain from simple things that you and I understand as focus, as clarity in thinking. Because fire is connected to feet, right? Fire is also connected to eyes. What are eyes connected to? Sight. Sight, not only in a physical sense, but also as a matter of perspective, clarity, understanding, comprehension, all of that. In other words, mental clarity, all of that connected to focus, all of that comes. Very beautiful practice. Please consider them, including them into your sadhana when you practice the Agni Tattva. All right, now comes the third one. This is a little more difficult than the other two, and this is called Veerabhadrasana. Veerabhadra was also a warrior, is an aspect of Shiva, a fierce warrior. And the ancient warriors like Lakshmana and so on, they are taught how do you stand alert. They stand in Virabhadrasana. There are 3 or 4 types of Virabhadrasanas. I'm not discussing all those types in this particular video that you're going to see. I'm only discussing a Virabhadrasana 3, which is a slightly advanced variation. I haven't really taught it in my yoga classes, but I just wanted to introduce here because this is the moment to understand why do we do the Virabhadrasana 3, balancing on one foot, leaning forward. Again, please note, this is not for everyone. You have to learn it with practice, and a lot of patience is required. So let's take a few moments and look at that video and see what we learn from there. Namaste. This is the Veerabhadrasana. Veerabhadrasana is the warrior pose. This variation of Veerabhadrasana is not for everyone, but it engages your foot, and the element of balance brings heat into the foot, and through that heat it gets transferred to the navel, and from the navel throughout the body. How do you do that? Stand in Tadasana, take one leg back, about 3.5, 4 feet back. And then lean. Raise the back leg up. So you may need support initially. If you're new to this, raise it up. Watch my body. My torso comes down. My foot goes up. And then I can stay in this pose, or I can stretch my hands up. You form a T, if you will. Breathe in and out. And then come back to Tadasana. Switch to the other side. Inhale. As you exhale, take the other foot back. Get into position. Inhale. As you exhale, raise the back leg up. Adjust yourself slowly. Lower the torso. You can start with this. Take support. Stay in this pose for a bit. And then once you're confident, stretch your hands out and balance. Breathe in and out. And then come back to Tadasana. Again, repeat. Come down. Raise your foot up. Balance. Get strength in your legs. And then Tadasana. How long you can stay depends. Breathe in and out. And then come back to Tadasana. This is the Veerabhadrasana. Virabhadrasana is a very powerful asana that strengthens your leg and muscles, but it also begins to draw the energy into the navel. Anything that you do with your feet, remember, when you're in touch with the ground with your feet, you're drawing prana from the earth. Where is this prana in the earth? It comes from the sun. So the Mother Earth stores this prana and gives it to us when we are in contact with her. So it is a wonderful idea to walk barefoot, even if it's a few minutes. I know your feet gets a little dirty, but you can always wash it and clean it, right? This was one of the reasons why in the temples in ancient India, they would not let you wear sandals, because when you walk in, there would be grass, there would be meadows, and then you walk on them, you feel the connection with the earth, the big granite stones, and the structure connects you to Mother Earth. You feel very connected, very grounded. And that grounding forms the basis for your launching your consciousness, right? That is the whole point of it. So these kriyas, to begin with, there are many kriyas for the Agni, for manifesting the Agni alone. Tadasana Kriya, Vrikshasana Kriya are the easiest. Everybody can do that. It doesn't mean they're less effective. They're all equally effective. The other ones have more side benefits as well, like the Vriksha, the Veerabhadrasana, or the Navasana, the boat pose, where you do the boat, you engage the core, breathing in and out. So Navasana, all of these kriyas, there are many kriyas, asanas that you do. But I think at this point, while we are in this class studying the Agni element, it is enough that if we learn the Tadasana and the Vrikshasana Kriya, and for those of you who are a little more adventurous, you can do the Veerabhadrasana Kriya. Thank you for watching. Namaste. So there you are. I hope you found these 3 videos interesting and informative, this class informative, and as I always say, there is one side is philosophy, the other side is, okay, now I understood the philosophy, what do I do to practice it? How do I bring it into my everyday life? This is one of the practices you can add on to your sadhana. Here is a tip that it may have struck you. When you do the Tadasana, along with the Kriyas, first learn the Kriya perfectly, like spend a few weeks, understand the breathing in and out. Along with that, then along with this, you can bring in the mantra chanting as well. So now, you don't have to say, where do I find time to do mantras? Now I have to do Kriyas. This is becoming too much. Try to bring them all together. So in your Kriya practice, along with the breath, inhalations, exhalations, you begin to practice the mantra. Whatever that mantra is. then what happens? It becomes all the more powerful. But don't jump into it right away without learning these in bits and pieces. In other words, first learn the asana, first practice the kriya, and then when you feel completely at home with the kriya, maybe after 2 or 3 sessions of practice, or maybe 5, then you say, all right, now I'm going to bring in the mantra. Then do the same thing with Vrikshasana. First understand the Kriya, understand the Vrikshasana, learn to balance first, focus nicely, and then say, okay, Om Guhaya Namaha, Om Subramanyaya Namaha, and so on. You can bring in all those mantras into your Kriyas every time. And that is up to you. You say, okay, today I'm going to just meditate on one mantra as I do the Kriya. All that is entirely between you and your divine self. You don't have to ask me, you don't have to be spelled, oh, can I do this mantra, can I do that mantra? Just try it. None of these are waiting to harm you. Please, try it and see. One of them will click and say, I love this. When I do this, I felt something today. That means that grace, as I spoke to you earlier, that grace door slightly opens and say, yes, my child, come this way. So, spiritual path is very personal. To a certain extent, to a certain point, we can all travel together. We can encourage each other. We can share lessons like these. These are all sharing, right? I'm not teaching you from a pulpit. And you can take inspiration and say, all right, I like this idea. I'm going to try and see if it fits. It may fit, it may not fit. And that's okay. But if it does fit, then you will know it in your heart that, yes, I like it. I like this practice. I want to carry on with this for a little more time. And then the door will open. The fact that you like it means there is already grace flowing towards you, wanting you to take that path. So, thank you all for watching. I know I said I may not teach more Kriyas, but as I was watching these videos along with you, a couple of more ideas did come to me. They may be a little more progressively difficult physically, but I just want to put it all there because the younger ones in you, in your family, some of you may be participating in the intermediate yoga classes and other Maruti yoga, which we do on every Thursdays, where we do a lot of these kriyas. All of that, then these kriyas will become helpful in your own personal yoga practice. Builds physical stamina, builds muscle coordination. The most important thing is the brain exactly knows what to control in balance, right? Not too much to the left, not too much to the right. That is a fierceness in that focus. You don't have to teach children how to focus. Tell them, let's playfully do balancing pose. Okay, in the tree pose, how many of you can lift your head? The hands, how many of you can turn your head to the right and maintain balance? How many of you can turn to the left and maintain balance? Become more creative in challenging their ability to balance. When you do that, they are going to focus so hard to maintain that balance, then the idea of focus clicks to them naturally. They will inadvertently take that focus and apply it whenever it's required because they don't want to fall. In life too, they don't want to fall, right? So whenever that's required, subconsciously, unconsciously, because they have trained their mind. That is how powerful yoga abhyas is. So you also join them in that practice because at an unconscious level, you're training the brain to get back into balance. So when we talk of equanimity in yoga, equanimity as Sita Prajna, as the Bhagavad Gita calls it, Sama Dukkha Sukha Kshami, equanimity in pain and joy, Santushta Satatam Yogi Yathatma Drida Nishchayaha. Krishna says, my most favorite devotee is one who's equal-minded, right? How do you do that? What is equanimity? How do you give the brain an idea of what is equanimity? Starting with the physical brain, balancing poses. Not here, not here, stay. And the brain's, aha, this is what it means to be in balance. Then, deep inside, the understanding of maintaining equanimity, poise, all of that becomes second nature. That is why I keep saying that you don't become a robo, and I'll end with this thought. It's not like you become a robot-like thing and you become a machine. Oh, okay, I'm not affected by any of this, I'm just a machine. That's not what it's about, right? Don't think that this sucks the joy out of life. No. What it means is, I always use this example of the ocean, right? The waves crash on the rocks, the waves are up, the waves are dancing in joy, And you might say, well, what happened to this equanimity? Sometimes the waves are up, sometimes they go down, they crash in the rocks, they are angry, they appear angry sometimes, they appear joyful sometimes. So where is the equanimity? You're only focusing on the waves. What about the ocean? The ocean underneath, which is 99.9% of the water body, is calm. Only the surface is playfully engaging in this interaction. That is what we teach ourselves. So when the tree pose, you begin to do kriyas, the hands begin to move, and we'll add more kriyas as we go along. In the tree pose alone, it's very much fun, right? What happens is, a part of you stays fixed, rooted in the ground. And the rest of it is engaging, like the waves in the ocean. Hands up, hands down, head this side, this way, twisting, this way. But a greater part of you is focused on that foot on the ground, because that is holding your balance. In other words, we train ourselves. A part of us is firmly rooted in our core belief system. And that belief system gives us the energy, the power, the prana to diversify in life and do whatever we want in life. All talents, everything begins to flow when you draw that energy from Mother Earth, from the depths of your own being. I hope I made sense. Thank you so much for watching and being part of this class. Thank you for your participation, which encourages and motivates Maya and I to continue this sharing. Let us continue this journey of learning the Agni Tattva. Few more classes before we go into the next Vayu principle. Let us end this class, this satsang, with one Om and three Shantis. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.